This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories.
And welcome to my review of Star Wars Droids. And just in case you're confused, no, I'm not talking about that show that is probably never going to happen. I'm talking about the one from the 80s, which is definitely a weird show. And it's not my personal favorite, but I think they did a decent job with it. If really anything, it's like those episodes of Clone Wars with 3PO and R2. They're just going on ridiculous adventures with different people, and technically it doesn't fit into even the EU continuity since we know that Bail Organa has them at Revenge of the Sith's ending, and they're still in his ownership at the beginning of A New Hope, but there's probably some explanation that was made to explain it. But just going into it, this is just them getting different owners and going on different adventures. And I mean, they're all fine. The first one's definitely the weakest one, where I'd say the characters are the most annoying. First one's about them going and meeting with racers and rebel spy, and them going to take down these criminals who have basically created their own like miniature Death Star. And I mean, it's like a satellite that's kind of like a miniature, not exactly Death Star, but like super weapon that could go and like that's basically like a railgun. Couldn't think of it was for a second, but yeah, that was definitely the weakest one and a really weak start to it. But the other ones are a lot better. First one, really, I didn't enjoy any of the characters too much besides, well, 3PO and R2. And I don't think it was too interesting. I was glad when they left, but each of them has their own reason where they go and leave this current owner so they could go get a new one. Next one, probably the most interesting of them. This is the one where they go and their new owner meets a prince who is to retake his kingdom and becomes a king, and then after that, they run into probably the second most interesting thing in this. First, if you're just taking a look at how this impacts the current canon, whereas there's a character, and I kid you not, named Kaibo Ren, and yes, this is not a joke. You can go look it up. There's literally a character that was named Kaibo Ren, and well, that's just something that's actually happened. Really can't believe it did, but I mean, I guess this is the world we're living in. But just going and looking at it, honestly, it was just kind of crazy to go and see it, and he's just this like fat criminal, which is kind of funny because he's just sort of the opposite of Kylo Ren, but the name literally has one letter that is different in between it, and they're relatively close to each other on the keyboard, so who knows? It's just a really funny coincidence. But now going and looking at just everything else with this, I think that it was just super interesting to see because just everything got really interesting as they're going and helping out with this government and helping to set it up. And it just as it continues on, I think that things were getting a little more interesting for that one. And they even had the villain of the first like two episodes turn around and become an ally. Yeah, some of the storylines they got maybe a little contrived, especially Kaiba just kind of easily escaping prison because of C-3PO slightly messing up. But it's just supposed to be a fun kids show, so no real complaint. And just going through the rest of it, it was it was an interesting set of episodes. And at the end, it was another contrived reason that they can't bring droids to the academy, so the new owner had to give them up. So it was fine, but again, nothing super special. The next one chronologically is the Great Heap, although that's the last episode that's put on there because that's before they get their next owner, who leaves them at again at the end of the next set of episodes. And with that, it was another interesting set of episodes. Well, another interesting episode because this is just a single episode where it has probably the most interesting thing for me personally, which is one of the species that caused. Well, this is the retcon, but it still is technically canon. But the species that went and caused the Yuzan Vong to become the basically insane death cult that they are. That the Great Heap is from the Yuzan Vong galaxy and was the aggressor in the conflict between two droid races that went and devastated their galaxy, pushed them to fight back, and then caused the Yuuzhan Vong to go and kind of kill everyone in their galaxy, leaving it completely uninhabitable and forcing them to abandon it and find a new galaxy. But that's just an interesting little kind of dark thing that got put in after, but still is interesting. And with that one, the most interesting thing they did is they went and had a fake death for R2D2, but ultimately everyone knew he was safe because R2D2 is still alive in these Star Wars movies, and well, even know from the other episodes in the storyline that takes place after. Final one is an entire storyline that is set in this small area which was called like the Shroud of the Sith or something. Obviously, when they still don't know fully what the Sith was, and just it was just a species that Vader was thought to be a lord over, and not the order that Vader belonged to. But just looking at it, it was overall it was pretty interesting. It had the most imperial presence of all of it, and we actually do see stormtroopers and other imperial stuff in it, but it still is. It was a fine story, and ultimately it was enjoyable enough. But yeah, that's really I have to say. I think it was interesting to see. I did like that Anthony Daniels was in it, and it's fun to see him as C-3PO again. But that's really it. I want to know what you think. Please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next episode of Legends and Theories.
Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.